Chapter 11. Crashtown was like a cough that would not go away. A scab that would not be picked off. A cyst that kept growing back. No new information led anywhere. Leads turned to dust almost as soon as they appeared. And no word from redemption. Skii, desperate for information, took to asking locals at random if they knew anything about her father. The name Geist Flyer always triggered nothing but blank stares, though handfuls of people recognized his pseudonym, Whispers. Yet those who did were not exactly the trustworthy type. Her follow-up questions were always about the world's best magician, and most everyone claimed they had met him. They told tales about a god of a man, tales filled with sorcery, enchantment, and adventure. Or their anecdotes described the legendary show at the Spectora Maxima, where the performer had magnificently bombed. Almost all of the stories came with a footnote that they had knowledge of his whereabouts. But of course it would cost pills to be led to him. Nothing panned out. Vant was in a similar bind. He knew the town held a secret, once indicated by the green sparkle in Death's mask. But a couple of problems presented themselves. One, he never saw the phenomenon again. And two, the process of removing the mask from his face once attached was becoming increasingly more difficult. The relic clung to his flesh if worn for too long, and it took tremendous strength to tear it off again. For fear of never being able to remove the damn thing, Vant made use of the artifact's powers only once per day, at varying times, strictly for no more than an hour. With this formula, he scoured Crashtown inch by inch, to no gain. Day after day passed in this fashion. Patience wore thin as the days wore on. Vant and Skii became increasingly short with each other. The majority of their conversations consisted of frustrated grunts and eye rolls. A resentment, like a fungus, started growing inside of Vant. A resentment for having trusted his young companion.
She led me to this dead end.
He often thought.
She's to blame for all of this.
And he knew she probably thought the same things about him. Their partnership was becoming less and less important, though neither let on about it. Admitting the end of their alliance and disbanding would have meant admitting failure. So they still met up at the end of each day to exchange information. But it had become more of a formality than a necessity. Around the time they had officially lost count of their days in Crashtown, and after yet another wasted day of pointless searching, they settled in at the hotel. Vant made himself busy cleaning his weapons, and Skii was poring over her notes for overlooked clues when a voice startled them and broke up their listlessness.
Ho there.
Vant stared at his wrist communicator, but he did not speak.
Ho there, Vant Hu'l.
Oh, why today?
Vant thought. He knew, of course, the day would come. The day where Land Escape would call for an update. But as of this moment, he had nothing to give them.
Sami Fromm, I read you.
Sorry to bother you. Is it a good time to talk?
Vant had the impulse to stage the sounds of an epic fight. But instead, he resigned and said,
It's fine. How are things in Land Escape?
Quiet, but that's nothing new these days. How's the search going? Find our folks yet?
Getting closer.
Vant lied.
You know, day by day.
I see.
Sami's tone implied detection of Vant's evasiveness, but he did not press the issue. Instead, he offered,
Any way I can help?
Yeah, you can tell me everything's fine back home.
Gino's organized things pretty good. Bomp and Frey Zoo is quite the sight, you wouldn't believe it. Our people miss their families, though. And I can't lie to you, things are getting tense.
How so?
Charis keeps running his mouth. He says we need to mobilize, says we need to leave town.
Well, don't listen to him.
I never do. You know how he is, windbag.
Yeah, toss him over the wall.
Vant was half joking.
The thought crossed my mind plenty of times. Only problem is it's been enough to rile up the others. The townspeople are afraid of the nomads, Vant. Our gates are high and we're safe for now, but sooner or later they're gonna catch on.
To what?
To the quiet. There's usually a ton of noise coming from the canopy, from all the people here. Nowadays, it's dead silent, and there's only so many pots and pans the 50 of us can bang on. If the nomads find out we're vulnerable, they'll sack the city.
How are your defenses?
Strong. Everything's holding, but I don't think we have a lot of time here.
Vant pressed his palms into his temples.
Okay, let me think.
His head swam with responsibility. Responsibility for a rescue operation currently at a standstill. Responsibility for so many lives hanging in the balance. Responsibility for land escape teetering on the brink.
All right. Cheris has a stockpile of energy running in circles in his belly. I mean, it's dangerous now, but it could be diverted into a helpful direction.
He considered. Then,
all right, here's what I want. Tell him he's right.
I sure hope there's more to this plan.
Tell him you spoke to me and that I'm close to finding the army. You tell him that a battle is coming, that you need to be outfitted for a fight. You put him in charge of weapons and armor. You let him train the townspeople how to shoot and to learn himself if he doesn't already know. You practice tactics, run drills, and that should keep him busy for a while, help burn off that excess testosterone.
Got it. Thanks, Vant. I knew you'd have the answer.
Yeah, it's not the answer. It's just an idea, but I hope it works.
An envelope slid into the hotel room under the door. Vant and Skii raised eyebrows at each other. Skii quickly checked the hallway, but the messenger was gone. Vant, back into his comm, said,
Sami, sorry, something came up. I gotta go.
Take care of yourself, Vant Hu'l. For all of us.
Vant switched off the transmission. Skii showed Vant the envelope. It was ornate, time-worn, quite lovely. A wax seal displayed a symbol, W8M. She opened it with care. Inside was a parchment decorated with circus iconography, exotic animals, performers, tents. And in the center of the spectacle was a bearded, robed Adonis floating amongst the clouds. Above him, written in calligraphy, were the words, "Tonight, one night only, for one believer only, when the sun and moon combine." In the corner, a small series of maps indicated a location, and in fine print was the phrase, 100G entry. 100 green corpo capsules.
Always a catch,
Vant thought. Vant assumed Skii would be beside herself, but instead, she was furrowing her brow.
It's a trick. I've been dropping his name all over town. It's no secret who I'm looking for.
Probably 10 greens to make the invitation. After they rob you, they'll walk away with 90. It's a decent score.
Uh-huh.
She pulled a curtain back and looked out of the hotel room at the manufactured sky.
Well, the sun and the moon are pretty close to touching. Didn't give me much time. Sure that was no accident.
She closed the curtain.
Oh, I better get ready.
You're going?
Yeah, gotta.
But you said yourself.
Gotta make sure.
This is a terrible idea. You've seen what the people in this town are capable of.
If whoever sent this letter wanted to violate me, they had plenty of chances to seal the deal. They just want money, so I'm gonna go give it to them.
Why?
Even though I smell a setup, I also have a hunch. You remember the ads for the world's best magician at the Spectorum Maxima, the ones who showed a mustached man in a cape?
Yeah, what's your point?
This drawing is of a bushy bearded guy in a robe. Why would he look so different unless the person who made the flyer knew him?
Huh. I never would have made the connection. Clever girl.
Save it, Pops. I am well aware of how bright I am. Brighter than the sun.
Says the girl headed into a mugging. What am I worried about? You don't have the 100 anyway.
Ski's lips melted into a sly smile.
Wait, Skii? How much do you take from the bank?
Relax. The fine folks of Landescape can take one for the team. I've got enough in the bots to cover the fee. Plus, you're going to recover the loot and pound any baddies to the ground with those big old mittens of yours, right?
Fine.
Vance surrendered. After all, this play was in his best interest. He wished to unravel this mystery as well, in case the magician was the sparkling green shape once seen in Death's Mask. Pressed for time, they cobbled together the semblance of a plan. Vant departed first, following a hand-drawn copy of the map. After spending 20 minutes weaving through the streets to shake off any potential tales, the map directed him through an area for lizard fetishes, and eventually, to a wall near the edge of the district. He was certain he would hit a dead end, but as the map indicated, there turned out to be a passageway. It led into a darkened quadrant of the city, where Crash Town's holographic ceiling was mute. Vant inched past several sleeping hobos and made his way into the interior, The area seemed to be a warehousing section of some sort, packed with high-rise structures, most likely storage facilities. He reached the map's indicated destination, a decrepit building, once some sort of logistics center. He found a nearby ledge with a decent vantage point and tucked himself away.
Skii,
He whispered into his comm.
Yeah,
I'm in position. Where are you?
at the hotel getting ready.
It's almost time.
It's not every day a gal gets an invitation to a show. I'm taking full advantage of the situation.
Vant shook his head.
Just hurry.
Can't rush a work of art, Pops. Relax. It's good for a lady to keep her fellow waiting.
Vant suppressed a huff and sat down. He rolled Death's mask around his fingers. He stared into its empty eye sockets and felt its pull. A begging, a longing to be worn. He obliged. His insides frosted over. Dark became darker. The world transitioned into the realm of shadow. The structural details of the building before Vant faded into half opacity. Through its walls, he could see several glowing silhouettes, most likely squatters or vagrants, innocents. He looked around, taking in the view through Death's eyes. Vant noted a fascinating phenomenon. The farther he pushed the limits of his eyes, the more of the township he could see. Tangible structures in the foreground melted away, revealing more of the city in the background. Additional shapes of people materialized, like stars pushing through a dusky sky. He allowed himself to bask in the powers of the mask. The ability to look through walls, the ability to track the movements of people, the ability to see in the dark, and the ability he had once experienced to witness the true nature of the corrupt. His stomach knotted as a thought appeared.
I like this mask.
He forced his mind to about-face. The guise belonged to a sadistic demon. There was no part of that creature Vant could allow himself to identify with. The mask was making him drunk on an otherworldly ability.
How do I look?
Skii had whispered the question into her comm. In his altered state of consciousness, Vant spotted her silhouette arriving in the warehouse district.
Fine.
Vant lied, having no idea what she actually looked like. Her glowing shape was all he could see through the mask, and he did not want to take it off.
Now radio silence.
Sure.
In the one word, Vant detected a tinge of dejection. Maybe he should have looked at her with his real eyes. Maybe he should have paid her a compliment. It was too late now.
Her safety is more important.
He rationalized. Skii entered the building and descended into the subterranean. It appeared the magic show would be in the basement. Below her, Vant spied one solitary figure glowing white. The form was not pulsing red like the villains he was tasked to destroy, and it was certainly not the green sparkle he was hoping for. It was normal.
Who are you?
Vant heard Skii say. A man spoke to her.
I am the Grand Magician's Grand Assistant. Welcome, young beauty. We are so thrilled you have come. I and the world's best magician. The show is about to begin, a special show for an audience of one. One lucky girl who will witness the mysteries of the universe, the heavens opening up, and true fantastical magics of every which kind.
Oh, in a basement.
Yes, in a basement. Quite private down here, is it not?
Sure is. And it smells like piss. Nice bonus. So, where's the star of the show?
Behind this very curtain, waiting for you.
This was a lie. Vant could see that no one else populated the basement.
Let's see him then.
All in due time. But first, to business. Now, it is no great secret that summoning spirits and calling up the forces of the unbelievable is a taxing and complicated affair. There is more to it than mere magic words and flapping one's arms about. It takes study, discipline, mystical artifacts, special potions, and let's not forget the overhead. There are assistants aplenty, living expenses, marketing, and other such necessities, and so forth. This means, sadly, we cannot work for free. We would do it purely for pleasure. Truly we would, but alas, we cannot. But I can see that you, a girl with big, luscious brains behind those modest-sized bosoms, surely comprehend such things. So I must ask, not that I don't trust you, because I do, I completely do, but I must ask with all due respect that I certainly must obviously need your payment in advance. You do understand? Why, of course you do, my dear, sweet angel.
Sure. Here you go.
Vant had lost patience. He spoke into the comm.
Skii, I can see from here there's no one else in that room. Don't give him squat.
Who the hell is that? You're not alone?
I can explain.
Vant heard the sound of glass shattering. Ski's silhouette flopped to the floor. The magician's assistant hovered over her for a moment, then darted through the basement toward the side door.
Stupid.
Vant chastised himself.
I should have kept my mouth shut.
It took Vant mere seconds to circumvent the crook's escape. Hiding in the shadows did the thief no good. Darkness was Vant's ally when he donned death's guise. As he emerged from the back door, Vant dropped from a ledge, tackling him.
What the? Who the?
Vant, dressed in black robes, wearing a glowing mask and brandishing iron fists, bore down on the cowering thief.
What did you do to the girl?
I'm alone. What girl are you talking about?
Vant smashed the pavement with a gauntlet. Cracks in the cement spiderwebbed inches from the man's face.
Please don't hurt me, okay? Okay, she's fine. Just a sleeping draft. You startled me, that's all. I thought she was alone. I heard another voice and I panicked. I knocked her out and I ran. She's probably dreaming of sugar plums and lion's dicks or whatever pretty girls dream about.
Vant leaned in closer, tormenting his prisoner. The thief trembled in front of the blinding mask.
Please. Whatever you are, please, just let me go.
Take me to her now.
Yes, I'll take you to her, no problem.
And if she's so much as scratched, I'm gonna be a handful.
I promise you, comrade, I promise you she'll be snoring. She'll be unharmed.
Get up.
The man obliged. Vant flung a whip, which twisted around his prisoner's waist. Bound and secured, he was not going anywhere. He led Vant through the side door and into the basement. Sure enough, Skii was out cold, face down in the cellar. Her dress was orange, reversed from the black she normally wore. Her hair was done up in a bun. She had put in effort to look presentable, and now she was a mess. Vant wished he had complimented her when he had the chance. Vant nudged her. No response.
Comrade, allow me. Quite a dose I gave her. I have exactly the thing to perk her up.
Vant's body language was threatening.
No tricks. I swear, I'm way too frightened of you to try anything impulsive. Let me loose?
After considering, Vant finally released the whip from the man's torso and peeled off Death's mask. Storing it in his robes, he studied the charlatan, who was a stout man, most certainly not tall, with two standout features. One, his flashy eyes, abundant with cleverness, and two, a full set of gleaming, impossibly white teeth. The trickster did a double-take upon realization that the specter tormenting him was actually a young-faced human. He fumbled about his body, attempting to locate something specific. Vant heard bottles click together. The man carried a miniature storeroom of vials underneath his vest. At last, he located what he had been searching for, a small tube of yellow powder. Vant shot him a look that said, "Don't test me," and the charlatan nodded with obedience. He waved the bottle under Ski's nose, and she came to in an instant.
What the crud? Ow, my head. Where am I? Oh, hey, Pops.
Skii, this overzealous scumbag drugged you. Don't worry, you'll be fine.
My cute cohort. I simply apologize for such behavior. Had I known you have a guardian angel or demon by the looks of him, I would have handled the situation with much greater aplomb. But bygones under the bridge. No harm, no foul, yes? Yes?
He spoke with his whole body, a showman through and through. He was selling something with every word. To Vant,
My friend, I do apologize. All is forgiven?
Though skeptical, Vant shook his hand. The con man flailed his arms with enthusiasm. In an overcompensation of friendliness, he patted Vant on the chest and stomach, as if they were close friends.
Ah, bravo for your maturity. Now, let us begin again, and this time with proper introductions. I, my dear compatriots, am the humble Kram Grammie. Not, as you so discovered, a magician's assistant, but rather a mere street urchin. And now that you've caught me and put my pride in the pisser, I will bid you a fond farewell and return to the streets in repentance. I shall think upon my actions with regret, and begin my life anew, free of this detestable disease of petty theft.
Hogwash.
My dear.
My dear, my ass. Turn out your vest, you snake. Give my demon back his mask.
Begging your pardon, but I have no such...
Skii shoved him against the wall and put Cassidy's barrel against his neck.
Okay, let's get this straight. First, we're no chumps. Second, I'm the scary one of the two of us. Who says I'm not his guardian demon?
Of course, of course. I was simply testing you, that's all. I had every intention of giving it back. Here it is. See?
He revealed Death's mask, which he had stashed under his vest. Vant felt like a sucker. The man had pickpocketed the relic out of his robes while patting him on the chest. He snatched it back from the thief.
Next, I want my pills back.
Clever comrade. Why, certainly. I forgot I had them. A simple mistake.
He returned Ski's purse of corpo capsules.
And now, I want you to take us to the world's best magician.
Sweet cherub. There must be some misunderstanding. I am but a humble...
Yes, I know, a humble pain in the ass.
Skii cocked Cassidy menacingly. The charlatan cringed.
The man in the invitation you gave me. He looked nothing like the one on the handbills from years ago. You've seen him. You know him. You either take us to him or you get splattered.
He squinted at her, considering.
I'll even let you keep the real pills in your pocket and not the dummies you handed back.
Vant felt like a double sucker. While fumbling in his robes for Ski's antidote, the con man had emptied her pill purse and replaced its contents with decoys. That Skii had observed the subtle weight difference was astounding.
My dear.
And we'll also need our communicators back.
Skii felt her naked wrist, then slapped herself on the forehead. Kram Grammie wiggled his eyebrows playfully and smiled huge, showing off his perfect teeth.
You drive a hard bargain, companions. We have ourselves a deal. Well, come on, off with us. Time to meet your first real magician.
He led Vant and Skii out of the warehousing center and down a back alley, sandwiched between a buffet and a strip club. They approached an unmarked door that could easily have been mistaken for a utility closet. He used 6 different keys to unlatch 6 different locks. And then the door creaked open. He went in first, beckoning Vant and Skii to follow. The dingy apartment-style hideaway was cluttered and dusty. Old books, magazines, pen and paper games, and outdated electronic entertainment equipment littered the space. Crumpled-up handwritten notes, diaries filled with scribblings, and other slippery obstacles lined the floor. Collages of media, crystalline displays of scantily clad women, and various other forms of art decorated the walls. There was no shortage of schlock, including small figurines displayed on shelves next to busts of mythological heroes. A grip of mismatched chairs and an overused couch anchored the living room, and only a makeshift kitchen and 2 bedrooms down a hallway completed the dwelling.
This way,
the charlatan said. At one of the 2 doors, he knocked and asked,
Are you decent?
There was a vocal cacophony from behind the door. They could not decipher the exact words, but there were a lot of them, and they were passionate.
That means yes. You can go in, he won't bite.
Vant twisted the knob. The door opened. They had barely a moment to register the man before his kinetic body movements and sing-songy voice swept them into a world of confusion. He flailed his arms wildly, stroked a mane of matted hair, and puffed out his impressive potbelly.
Ba-ba-boo! My friends. Come one, come all. In fact, we should all be so lucky as to come. Now, we all know that I know you. And you may know that you know me, but in case my message is misinterpreted, let me be clear. It is always a pleasure to be in your company. Though my circumstances sometimes leave me in a holding pattern elsewhere, here we are, here and now.
Skii's mouth was agape. Vant tried to decipher meaning in the magician's words, but before he could, he started up again.
I'm busy from here till doomsday, or at least till I get my new show up. But I suppose that's why you're here, so let me tell you all about it. Act 1, the landing. It's pretty boring, actually. I disarm a guy with my wit and charm, and I try to walk through a stone wall, thinking it akin to one of my perverse Uncle Beverly's library of discontinued school text secret doors. Thusly, the hidden passage performs much the same duties as a wall of stone. Enthusiasm wanes at my foibles. Act 2, it is impossible to defeat me. Act 3, buckets and buckets and buckets and buckets of blood. Act 4, we celebrate. As you know, I haven't had a drink in a really long time. But I recently imagined I'd had one. Even that was enough to floor me. My goodness. Not quite sure how we did it back then. I guess we were younger. On to Act 5!
He continued rambling, poring through his journals and searching for something that likely did not exist. He wore a lightweight robe, more a bathrobe than a magician's robe, which trailed behind him as he ran from corner to corner. His slippers slid across the floor, and his soft shirt wafted at the neckline, revealing a thicket of remarkable chest hair. Vant, in hopes of restoring some order, introduced himself to the oddity zipping around the room.
Hello. Hi, I'm Vant Hu'l, and this is Skii Tavee.
Skii was entranced, but gave Vant a familiar look.
Ah, yeah, that's her fuzzy friend, Cassidy.
Skii waved and showed the bizarre man her teddy bear.
Why, there's no need for formalities. We're old friends, of course.
He scratched Cassidy behind the ear, which made Skii smile.
We all are, in fact. Peas in a pod.
He indicated each of the people in the room.
Her. Me. Him. You. Him.
And he pointed outward towards someone missing.
And Froggy, of course. Oh, Froggy! Always late to the party.
Vant turned to Grammie.
Can he understand us?
No, he understands us fine. I know it seems otherwise, but he's not crazy. Not in the slightest. He's just off-kilter.
The hyperactive man turned to them in a moment of clarity. He spoke with purpose and perfect diction.
I have a nephew now. It's weird. He appears to be a regular baby, but when he talks, I don't understand what he's saying. Does this mean my nephew is a nerd baby?
Vant and Skii looked at Grammie for translation.
Can I understand him? Sure I can. Did I understand the last bit? Not in the slightest.
He chuckled and made a polite gesture, ushering Vant and Skii back into the main room. Bewildered, they obliged. Grammie shut the door behind them, leaving the magician to his insanity.